Hi guys, it is of course the At Odds Pod, and we've got a little special for you here. The Champions League is back on Tuesday of this week, and you can almost hear that beautiful Champions League music now. I am Sam Farley, and I'm of course with my main man, Mr. Sam Boswell, and the man who actually does have a team that are in the Champions League, Jake Ashton.
Hey, Crystal Palace will be there one day.
This is our year.
I think it probably is. So let's just go through this. Who do you guys fancy for the Champions League this year? Before we get stuck into the actual nitty gritty of the games.
Weirdly, because anyone watching our weekend preview will have seen us talk about Chelsea, who were playing West Ham at the weekend. I wasn't particularly positive about Chelsea. I am weirdly positive about Chelsea when it comes to the Champions League. I think their squad depth, and Tuchel for me has a huge advantage as a one-off kind of manager, one-off games. I think he can manage the Champions League really well. I think Chelsea are going to be off the pace in terms of the league, but as their team grows stronger, they should get through the group easy enough. I think they've got a good opportunity of going deep in the Champions League because they won't have the distraction of the league like Man City are going to have.
Yeah, I think that's fair. How about you, Jake? Are you just going to stick with your hometown team?
I think Bayern Munich are very
big price now.
Yeah, they're a massive price at the minute, and
over 7 to 1.
I think a lot of people will be sleeping on them too. Like, by the end of the day, as we've seen so far this season, they've been scoring goals for fun, and if that can translate over to the Champions League, then
plus
they're going to be a tough team for anyone, aren't they?
They've got the easiest league, haven't they? Of all those towards the front of the market, like it's the least competitive league. Paris Saint-Germain, some might argue, I suppose, but either of those sides can chop and change on a Saturday or a Sunday with the Champions League in mind. Bayern, I think, are so ruthlessly efficient. They'll have that title wrapped up early. So when they get to the latter stages of the Champions League, I think it's so hard to fight on multiple fronts, even in the modern era of big squads. So definitely can see the angle. It's kind of a little bit of my thinking with Chelsea. Not that they'll forget the league, but the Champions League latter stages can be prioritised.
Yeah, I kind of like you, Boz. I think there's room for maybe don't get me wrong, gun to my head, Man City will win this. I think it is a matter of time. If it's not this year, it's next year. But
didn't we say that last year, though?
We did. No, I think it will happen. They're just too good for it to not happen.
We're just way too short, though. The price is just rubbish.
You can't back it, really.
11-4, I think it is. Like,
can you
make an argument? Sorry, before you go ahead, Fally, can you make an argument for PSG this year, do you reckon?
Not for me. I think that's another short price. They're second favourites in the betting there at, best price about 5 to 1.
I don't want to take 5 to 1 for a bet that I've got to wait till May. In such a deep competition, and also don't forget, this is Messi's last chance of winning a World Cup. I'd be staggered if they're not in the latter part of that tournament. He's not a young man. I don't think the recovery is going to be instant. I don't know. There's something about PSG and City that I can't get my head around either of them getting that trophy.
I think, like you, Boz, the best bet is go for a team who are good in cups or can be good in cups. They got a coach who can get a team fired up for a one-off game. And this guy might not have the best record in Europe, actually, but Antonio Conte at Spurs.
Oh,
I knew you was going to say Spurs. No.
18 to 1. I think they're going to get through the group, easy peasy. They'll get through like maybe 1 or 2 rounds. And then when they do face the big boys, can a Conte team do it? And I think I've seen enough from his time in London to think that maybe he can. At 18 to 1, if I'm looking for the value there, that's the one that to me stands out the most. But look, that's by the by. If you're listening, of course, we would love to hear from you. So let us know on the At Odds Pod, where would your money be going? But for now, let's get stuck into the best bets on Tuesday, where we have, 8 games? I'll quickly go through them for you. Dortmund versus Copenhagen, Dinamo Zagreb versus Chelsea. Those are both in the early slots. Then we have Benfica, Maccabi Haifa, Celtic versus Real Madrid. Nice game. Salzburg versus AC Milan. PSG versus Juventus, probably the biggest game of the day, really. Leipzig versus Shakhtar Donetsk, and Sevilla versus Man City to round it off. So, Boz, why don't you guide us through your best bets for Tuesday?
Yeah, there's a couple I like in here. I won't be going too mad. I'll be honest. My European football knowledge is slowly but surely improving. But the Tuesday I thought looked harder to find a bet I had real conviction with. So I've had a couple of stabs. My ACCA bet is going to be Real Madrid -1. I'm sorry, Celtic fans. I know you'd love to see yourselves get off to a good start. I don't think going into this game off the back of an old firm is going to be ideal for Celtic either, no matter what that result is. Madrid are playing Betis, who've had a great start to the season in Spain, it should be said, coming into this. But I think you're playing a team that know the Champions League inside out, stacked full of quality. They don't seem to age, do they, that Real Madrid side? They're still turning up and winning trophies and playing well. There's enough talent there that they'll want to get off to a good start as well. All these managers are going to want to get these games won early because they're going to have other things on their mind. Players as well, with the World Cup looming. So yeah, Real Madrid -1 for me at the prices I thought was fair. And I'm actually going for a correct score bet, which is pretty rare for me in the Chelsea game. And they've got to travel away, which I don't think is great, but I'm pretty sure the one thing they're going to be determined to try and get in the Champions League, they get a clean sheet. They need to get this defense working, and their squad is so chock full of quality. You know, you just reel off the names. Mason Mount's had a bad start to the season, but he's a very good player. Sterling's starting to hit the heights for them, and I think will be really important for them. Havertz, I don't know about him. I really have been disappointed with him at Chelsea, but he's still clearly a talented player. You've got the likes of Conor Gallagher potentially having a breakthrough season. Reece James turning it in. Appreciate you picked up a knock recently, but he could well be back for it. They're chocked full of talent, loads of depth to their side. I really think they'll make a good run at this. And at 2-0, 13-2, I thought I could quite easily see him winning the first half 1-0, picking up a second towards the end of the game and shutting up shop. At 13-2, I thought that was a stab at a correct score bet for the Chelsea game.
I like that, Jake. Where are you going? Where's the money going from the Jake Ashton wallet this Tuesday?
I've always said this. It's really hard to find any value in the Champions League when it comes to match day 1, match day 2. Again, you don't really know what's going to happen in terms of the results. There's always some mad ones. But I just think that the 2 games I'm going to pick out are going to be fairly straightforward. I've got Real Madrid versus Celtic and Man City against Sevilla to be both teams to score and City and Madrid to win. I think that these are the only markets that you can really find decent value in the Champions League. They're both teams to score and win markets. And I think that there's goals in either game, to be honest. I think the Madrid-Celtic game, obviously, it's in Glasgow and the atmosphere is going to be amazing there. City-Sevilla, I think that it's going to be a game where we've seen in recent times City being tested in defence, and I think there's going to be no different here against Sevilla. 9-1 for that double is a massive price, I feel. And again, finding value on a Champions League night is tough, and that's the bet for me, I think.
I've gone a bit left field here because, like you, I think there's some dreadful value on Champions League. You really need to. I quite often go for correct score doubles because I think you can generally, with the better teams, you can get there or thereabouts how many goals they'll score, and therefore it's just kind of picking whether or not they'll concede that becomes the issue. But the one that leaps out here for me, and this is quite a rogue pick actually, is Leipzig against Shakhtar Donetsk. Leipzig, I know they've signed what's his name, Timo Werner from Chelsea.
Timo Werner, yeah.
Banged in a hat trick the other day, got an assist as well. Very good player, and now he's back in Germany. Looks already like he's settled again. But Shakhtar are a team who we've seen in the past. They can cause an upset in the Champions League when they want. And I think one thing we haven't seen in the past is this sort of a post-war or mid-war Shakhtar Donetsk. And I think without kind of being too morbid about things, we saw when the Ukraine played Scotland in the World Cup qualifier. I know you probably shouldn't draw a direct comparison, but they were just absolutely energized. They were so good. And I think that part of it was this emotional response to what was happening. And we saw it with Alexander Usyk against AJ as well, just absolutely clinical. He was locked in. It was all about the country. And I know they've lost, Shakhtar have lost some players because of this, but I do think they have a good chance here to get something. They're going to be absolutely on pure smoke here. 6-1 for a draw, I think, is a very good price against the Leipzig team, who haven't really lit things up in the Bundesliga yet.
I like it. I
Not
like
the most
the
exciting
reasoning
one, but
yeah, I like the reasoning for it too. Definitely.
You're getting a price as well. 6 is like, we're not expecting it to win, but if it does, you're laughing.
yeah, like you put the price of a pint on it, and hopefully it comes good. But like, you don't. It's not one you're going to go mad for.
No, no,
definitely not. Should we look at Wednesday's games or?
Yeah, I like Rangers. I like the Wednesday games a bit more in terms of accruing and shorter prices. And do you know what? I'll sit on mine for a little bit. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll run through the games quickly before we do crack on with what our picks are. But we've got Ajax v Rangers and Frankfurt versus Sporting in the early kickoffs on Wednesday. And then we've got Napoli, Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Porto, Bruges, Leverkusen, Barca versus Victoria Pilsen, Inter v Bayern, and Tottenham against Marseille. So, looking at the picks that we've all gone for these games, Farley, yours is sticking out like a sore thumb to me. You got another 6-1 pick to follow on from your Tuesday pick. So, tell us what's going on there, then.
So for me, again, this is just another one where I think the price is slightly wrong. I've bet against Rangers. Well, I bet against them already this year in the qualifiers. It didn't work. I bet against them consistently in Europe last year, and it didn't work. There's something about this team that you can't deny. They do have, as much as I don't think they're necessarily the most talented team, they have lost a few players. They do have some sort of spirit in them, a real kind of fight. And they're on the road in Amsterdam against Ajax. And, you know, two absolute heavyweights of the past really here. But Ajax have been a very good team in recent years. But I can't, the short price available on Ajax, let me quickly grab it here, it's basically just above 1-2. It's not like, it's incredibly short for a team who have lost their manager that was behind a lot of their success. They've lost Anthony to Man United, Alessandro Martinez to Man United, Sebastian Haller moved on to Dortmund, Ryan Gravenbach went to Bayern Munich. They've lost players to Lyon. They've lost players all over the shop. They might be losing some more before the day is done. Ultimately, do I trust, like, does this team even know who they are right now? Do we know if the manager is particularly good right now? There's a lot of questions. And for me, I think Rangers could possibly take advantage of that. And 6-1, again, I don't want to put big money on this. This is just a sprinkle, a couple of pounds, but it's one just to keep the night interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Well, my tip's going to tie in really nicely, Farley, because it was Eintracht Frankfurt that Rangers lost out to in that Europa League final on penalties, wasn't it? Going all the way back, it was a 1-1 draw. They play Sporting Lisbon, who, if you watch our other broadcast, you'll be aware that I had the misfortune of going to watch live, and I'm quite happy to take them on. So the logic here is Sporting Lisbon are terrible, but Eintracht Frankfurt are playing all right at the moment. They've lost a few players, as every team that overachieves probably does. They do have that European pedigree. They've got a cracking fan base as well that will really get behind the team. And at 13-10 for the home win, I really fancy them to get off the mark. I think Sporting will struggle to get a goal. And as long as Eintracht Frankfurt manage to score, I'm pretty sure they'll win the game. For all that's a bit of a rubbish cliche. And I was really impressed with they were very industrious in their work in Europe last season, and they seem to have a real pedigree for grinding out results. So I won't be sat watching the game with huge interest. I think it'd be a bit dull, but I think they'll get the win, which is all we're after.
I think that's a great bet. And I enjoyed watching them in Europe last year. They had a couple of players, you know, they didn't have any genuinely world-class players, but they had a few guys that I thought were really talented. They had the little Japanese guy, it was like Darky Kamada or something like that. Really like talented, like really nice control on the ball. I think they're a good little team and could really surprise a few people along the way this year. So I love that pick.
Excellent. And then we come to Jake's, which is the shortest price of the trio.
It's the shortest price, but I think that Bayern Munich at evens to beat Inter is a great price. I mean, Bayern haven't lost in the last 6. They've not lost in the last 6 away games either. And I just think that Bayern against Inter, an Inter side who you never really know what you're going to get with them, to be honest. And I think that, again, evens is a massive price.
Sorry, guys, quickly,
so-
can I interrupt? Hello, Mr. Bank Manager. I'd like a mortgage, please.
It's
No,
a
no, I've
mortgage
just got a great
bet.
tip from Jake. No,
It's a
all,
mortgage bet.
all joking aside, love that. Love that.
I just think that it's going to be, as we said on yesterday's games, the Tuesday games, value-wise, you're not getting much value in the Champions League, and I think that this is value in the Champions League, to be honest.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because trying to compile odds, and I try and price up sometimes when I'm seriously looking at having a football bet. I'll think to myself, it's something I'd advise anyone to do if you've got the time. Work out the prices yourself. Football, of all sports, is incredibly hard because it's such a mature market by the time we look at it. This is a global sport that people love betting on, and the money abroad will set the lines effectively pretty early on. But in the Champions League, I suppose the opportunity is the fact that you've got teams that don't play each other very often playing each other. Now, if you've got a stronger opinion, if you think Bayern, if you make them a shorter price than evens, you've got to get involved, haven't you? And it's reflective of. But Bayern, I always think, are a hard team to weigh up because they're so head and shoulders above anything else in their league.
I think that's a fair point, definitely. But the other thing is, Bayern have got Union Berlin at the weekend, and then you've got Inter, who've got the Milan derby, obviously. So, does that also add into it? Are Inter going to be a bit knackered going into this one? I'm not too sure, but again, evens is something I'm going to put in all of my hackers probably on Wednesday, to be honest.
I think that's, I mean, we're all joking aside about mortgages and wheelbarrow jobs, but this is one that, be responsible. But I think this would, definitely be a very strong bet from myself. But as always, be responsible.
Yeah, be responsible is the main thing. So should we go into bankers bust and draw for the Champions League games then? So who wants to go first with their banker for the Champions League?
Mine's the most embarrassing banker, so let's get it out of the way. Barcelona at 1 to 10, 1 to 9, whatever they are. Listen, I know they're a mess of a club financially, but they've clung on to some decent players. They've got enough quality there that games like this, they'll just win. It's a really boring pick, but for the purposes of a banker, they're in my bets, -1, -2, but they'll win this.
Fair enough. Farley, what's your banker for the games?
Before we go into this, I basically did have the exact same banker bust and draw as Jake, but I kind of thought it's going to be a bit boring if I literally copy you word for word. So I have gone instead for PSG. I think Juventus they're trading on name alone here. I don't think they're a great side. I think they will improve. They've got better management now, but it's a bit early for them. So I would say PSG are the banker. I wouldn't bet it myself at less than 1 to 2, but it is a banker all the same.
That's fair. And again, I think that is arguably the game of the midweek, to be honest. PSG Juventus, it's going to be a very good fixture. My banker for these games, I've got to go with my own side, City. I think that Man City away to Sevilla, 4 to 9 is actually not a bad price, to be honest with you. Last time we played Sevilla in the groups was back in 2015, and I think it was the first actual Champions League game where I thought, wow, this is amazing. We were like 3-0 up after half an hour, and we played unbelievably. And I think that Haaland missed the Champions League himself. Will he play? Of course he'll play, and he'll score too. So City are my banker for these games. Let's go to bust. Boz, we'll start with you again for your bust. Who do you think may not win? I think this is a massive shout list for you.
It's quite big, isn't it? Liverpool travel to Napoli. Okay. I like Liverpool, don't get me wrong, but they're not the same team as they were last year. We've seen their domestic form has been iffy. I can't sit here and tell you that I think Napoli are going to batter them because I really don't. But from a win perspective, I'm more than happy to leave Liverpool alone at odds on at the moment. If they were maybe 11 to 10, I'd probably disagree, but they're odds on across the board. I don't want to get too involved at Liverpool at the moment. I want to, and at that price, again, it's a price thing. If they were a bit bigger, I wouldn't want to take them up. I'd lay them at that price. I think there's enough. If they go one down, which as Sam said on our Premier League show that you can check back out and look at, this is the trouble with this Liverpool team. It scares me that they're going behind too often, and Napoli are too canny. If they get a goal up, they're not going to falter or fold. And Liverpool squad, their midfield, this might sound horrible. James Milner's not going to be able to play 2 games a week, guys. You know, he might be the fittest man in the world, but he looks like a headless chicken to me at the moment. Jordan Henderson, I'm worried about his form. That midfield is a concern. And I think if Napoli can get the run of the game, I think they'll get something out of it. So Liverpool, for me, taking them on.
Interesting. And to be honest, they were going to be my bust at one point. I think looking at the stats, Napoli haven't lost to Liverpool in the last 3 games that they've played, and Napoli in total haven't lost in the last 14 games in all competitions. So it's an interesting pick, and again, it's one I was looking at too, but I didn't quite have the confidence for it. Farley, who are you picking for your bust this week?
My bust is Real Madrid, and I can't give you the stats that you've just given about Liverpool and Napoli, for example, but I can give you vibes.
Oh, vibes. And vibes.
There's always been something when Celtic are in the Champions League, they're playing at home, that stadium is rocking. Teams do struggle there. And I know this isn't a vintage Celtic team by any means, and this isn't the first choice team I'd have picked. As I mentioned, I'd have picked Jake's one, who he'll talk about in a second. But at the price they are, which is very short, Real Madrid win this game 9 times out of 10. But do I want to back it? No, I really don't. I for me, no. I'm staying away from this, 100% away.
Okay, fair enough. Now my bust, I'm going to go against Boz. I'm going to go for Chelsea as my bust. I know you picked them to win 2-0 in your bet for Tuesday, but I just feel that 1-2, they're too short for me. I'm going to throw a few stats for you here too. Zagreb haven't lost in 24 home games. They've won 5 home games in a row. 24 home games. I know they're not exactly playing.
I was going to say, who are they playing though?
Yeah, they're not playing the caliber of Chelsea, but at the end of the day, this is a massive game for Zagreb. They're getting 2-time Champions League winners coming to their home turf, and they're going to be fighting for a win here. And I think that it's going to be a tough game for Chelsea. 2-0 may happen, Boz. It may happen, but I just feel that 1-2 is too short for me for Chelsea.
You got me worried, Jake. You got me worried with that home record.
So, Farley, let's go for you for your draw now.
Look, I've talked about them already. For me, it has to be the Celtic Real game. I could see this being a draw. I just don't think Real Madrid win this. So, draw for me, 1-1 draw. Yeah, there you go.
Right. Well, in the spirit of everybody going against what I think will happen, I suppose I better get my jinxing out and do a bit of Paul Pogba style witchcraft and voodoo on making sure that we get Inter versus Bayern beat. So I'm packing that as my draw. I know you two seem to think Bayern are the best thing since sliced bread. I get it. I do think on paper Bayern are the better team, but I think you're really discounting Inter's craft here. They've been scoring plenty as well in the league. 1-3-1, 3-0 the last couple of games in advance of recording this. I think they've got the squad depth there. Jake, I really like Edin Dzeko still. I think he's a player that can cause anyone problems on his day. Obviously had the big money move for Lukaku, but they seem to have shared the game time around. I must say, they're not a vintage Inter side on paper looking at where they are. But, in terms of, 4 games in their second, but they have dropped points. I just don't think they're this bad side that everyone seems to. Well, I don't think Bayern are that much better. I don't think there's as much in it. So that's going to be my draw because I think there's a chance I could possibly get a point.
No, that makes sense. My draw is going to be Atletico Madrid against Porto. Now, I'm actually surprised with you two because I know you two absolutely love an unders bet. And I thought the unders in this game would literally be all over both of you. Atletico Madrid always, every time I seem to watch him, it's either a stinky 1-0 or a 0-0. It's just
But they're
not
just
the
the
best
archetypal,
football, is
we
it?
will get the result, we don't care
Exactly.
how.
And I feel that Porto are fairly similar in that sense, to be honest. I think it was last season where Porto's Champions League exploits were unreal, or the season before where they got through to knockouts and beat Juventus, and they looked like a great team. I know that these two sides were in the same group last year too, and the same game, Atletico Porto, ended in a 0-0 draw. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. I think just looking at the price for that, 12-5. I mean, again, we've spoke about value so many times. It's not the greatest value, but it's something that I can see happening. And again, unders too. Unders would be a big bet for this one too. So, yeah, I think that it's been an interesting bankers bust and draw because we've all picked like fairly similar games, and it just shows you that anything can happen in the Champions League. I know we've seen this so many times. Anything can really happen.
You two are going to have your lederhosen on next week when Bayern get the win. Farley's trying to do his very best of stopping my Real Madrid confidence bet at -1, which is now making me feel concerned. But it's really good to have the Champions League back. And as a competition, guys, really quickly, before we leave the podcast, let's just wrap it up with some chat about it generally. Does it still have the same magic and luster for you guys as it used to do? We obviously had the Super League discussion, didn't we, that reared its ugly head. And I'm sure with the way Barcelona are spending, it's in there thinking that that'll be back on the table. Do you think there's enough Champions League football? Do you think we see too much Champions League football? Does it need to be reformatted and changed? I'll start with you, Sam Farley.
If you asked me in the group stages last year, I'd have said it's boring. And even the knockouts, like I am a bit bored of seeing the same old teams, but you do get good games in the knockouts. I hate the group stages though. I think it is awful. But when it does reach the knockouts, as much as I hate seeing the same old teams, there is always drama. So I can't really odds that. The one thing I will say, and I know you're going to bring out the hipster label once again, I don't get the same enjoyment from the Champions League group stages as I do watching even the Europa or even the Europa Conference League, because you just see some absolutely bizarre stuff in there. Teams you've never heard of, you know. You watch teams.
You're chatting bollocks.
Are you like? Is this a wind up that you're trying to tell us that you enjoy the Europa League?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Group stages, 100%, and like you just see even the knockouts. Like I definitely prefer the Champions League knockouts. Don't get me wrong, but you watch like the Europa League knockouts, the Conference League knockouts. It means like, without slagging off the big clubs like the one you support, Jake, when your team's there in the semis every year, it's not quite what it is when you're a Frankfurt or Rangers and you're reaching these finals. You've probably not been there in your lifetime. And for me, there's something just really enjoyable about it. Conference League, I thought was a brilliant addition. Like even say just Roma winning their first silverware in God knows how long. It was just a great story. And I think those two leagues give us storylines that the Champions League doesn't really give us anymore.
Didn't hate the Conference League. I'll give you that, Farley. I didn't hate it like I thought I would. That's as good as I can probably give you. But Jake, obviously you're a City fan, so this is an elusive trophy for you. But do you think the Champions League days are numbered? Do you think the format will be changing?
I like the format as it is now. I think that adding more teams and having more fixtures would just be bonkers. I mean, we play too much football as it is. Like, I'm not going to moan sitting there as a City fan, but I watch my team play every 3 days because of the competitions that we're in. And it must take it out on the players. It must take it out on them.
Must take it out on the fans, Jake. I mean, you must be exhausted having to watch your team batter teams across Europe and then at home every week. Let me get my tiny violin out for you.
It takes it out of my pocket, I'll tell you that. But I'm not having this Europa League, Conference League is better than the Champions League. I'm not having it. I'm not having Roma winning the Conference League as some sort of fairy tale story either, by the way. Jose Mourinho managed Roma, who have got Tammy Abraham up front, who obviously spent millions on. I'm not having that as a fairy tale. I'm not having it. I'm sorry. Not having it at all.
Okay.
Fairy tales are there. They'll always happen in football. But the Conference League being some... Ask West Ham fans if they want to be in the Conference League this year.
I'd say they wanted to get to the final, though.
No.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, of course.
No one likes the legwork, but once you get there, the rewards are great. And
Yeah.
Rangers fans last year, absolutely loved it. So I
Could you
don't
think
know.
of anything better than an away day in like Zagreb or something? I know that's a Champions
True.
League one this year, actually.
No,
So that's
it's
a
true,
really
it's
bad
true.
example.
It does allow you to travel to some exotic places, see some teams that you wouldn't. And listen, as a Palace fan, I've got real hopes of Thursday night football one day. That's Champions League's not ever going to happen for us, but a spot in the UEFA Conference or maybe Europa, that's viable. And that's maybe the magic of it, Jake. It gives teams that I support a chance.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Listen, back in 2008 when we qualified for Europe through fair play, that was amazing. I
thought you were a Man United fan back then.
But it's something that I fully get behind. Keeping the Champions League is the way it is, to be honest. I think adding more fixtures, it's already been confirmed, hasn't it, that they're adding more teams to it?
I think there's amendments to come to it in a way to it. The Super League thing is never going to go, unfortunately. And I think, you only have to look at the mountains of debt Barca are in. I can understand why it's appealing. Personally, seeing the same 16 big teams play each other all the time would get what I hate is the exclusion of it. As long as we don't start excluding, it's interesting, isn't it? That was one of the elements that UEFA are still trying to push in, this kind of whole legacy. So if you're Man United, you should be getting in because you finished 7th over, say, a small team that finished 6th that haven't got that pedigree. I hate all that stuff. I really do.
It happens now, like co-efficiency rankings and stuff like that. I mean, pot 4 in the Champions League draw, that had like 5 or 6 league winners in there compared to pot 2, which had like 1 or 2.
I would like it to be a blind draw from the start, and anyone can pull anyone. And I do. There's a bit more jeopardy would be great. And I know the argument is, well, we've got to keep the best to, I do think there's too much gamification of making sure the better teams stay apart. Let's just have an open draw. And if you get Chelsea and Liverpool in the same pot, oh, well, it still makes for a cracking game because we loved it in the knockout stages when they used to play each other. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter too much, but there we go. Anyway, we've rambled. We've finished. This is our first Champions League preview. We'll try and do every single game week. If you like betting, though, which I'm guessing you might do if you've watched the last 30 minutes or so, give us a follow, the @OddsPod on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok as well. And also do like and subscribe to this video if you're watching us on YouTube. We really appreciate any feedback as well. Get your comments in. Let us know who you think will win the Champions League and any questions around how we like to bet on the Champions League. More than welcome. But from the team and me, it's good night and enjoy the first round of the Champions League games.
Enjoy.
Ciao.